All the freedom that you're actually looking for is by putting those constraints on yourself. Because if you don't put the constraints on yourself, life is going to put those constraints on you. If you eat whatever you want, sure, you're free in the moment, but you're not going to be free when you can't move around when you're 50, when you can't chase your kids anymore, when you have to buy 2 airplane seats because you can't fit in one. That's not freedom. That's not freedom at all. So you have to constrain yourself by not eating whatever you want, by exercising when you don't feel like it, and then you gain the freedom. That's actual freedom.
What's going on, friends? Welcome back to a brand new episode of Dieting from the Inside Out. If you are new around here, welcome to the show. My name is Jared Hamilton, and I'm excited that you're here. This is a really cool episode for you today. So this is another in-person episode, and it goes without saying, in-person is the coolest setup ever, and the vibes are so much better than like a remote interview. So when I was in Orlando a few weeks ago, I did a bunch of in-person podcast interviews because I had some really cool people around me. So this is one of those. I'm interviewing on today's episode a gentleman named Matt Graham. Now, this is not quite the normal podcast because I'm actually a pretty big fan of Matt and his content. So like I followed Matt for a long time and I just genuinely like what he has to say about changing your life. So Matt has his own story about stuff he struggled with and how he's overcome and got to where he is now. And I'll let him talk about that on the actual interview. But that's why I wanted Matt on the show, is because Matt has such an amazing way to speak around the tactics of changing your life, on how to level up, how to bleed excellence, how to not settle in your life, and how to ultimately change and take ownership over your situation, especially if the cards were not dealt very well to you, so to speak. So that's what we talk about. We got into all sorts of things on today's episode, but ultimately it's about how to change your life. It's ultimately about how to take ownership and how to have excellence and how to actively and actually go through the changes and change your entire situation, because that's ultimately what this is about. So I'm really excited to actually bring this one out, and the fact that it was an in-person interview is even cooler. Matt, it's funny how it kind of went was I hit up Matt like several months ago about coming onto the show, but because Instagram DMs get crazy, he said, yeah, I'd love to, but his response got buried in my DMs. But what's funny was I was posting on my Instagram story when I was in Orlando about the interviews I was doing. So Matt slid back into my DMs and he goes, yo, I'll come up. So Matt was about an hour or so away from where I was staying. So it was really cool that he just made the haul and came over and met me at my Airbnb, and we threw down on the show, and it was an amazing conversation. And I'm so thankful for that. But I'm also really excited to bring this content to you. So I will shut up now. Be sure and subscribe to today's episode. I know you're going to get a ton out of this. I'll talk to you in just a second. I would love to know more of your story, because I know you had like this big, and this is why I wanted you on the show, is because you've had quite a turnaround with like changing a lot. Mm-hmm. So I'd love to hear more about that. And I think that and the principles behind how you did it and the strategies and things like that would be really helpful to the listeners. So
yeah, so I don't have some like sob story of, how I was abused or my parents divorced or I was living in poverty. My life is pretty standard. I grew up in a middle-class Christian home, military home. We moved around New England. My father is a police officer, and my mother is a LNA. And, it was a pretty standard life. And I was an athlete in high school. Nothing crazy, nothing to write home about. When I graduated high school, I moved to Boston, and which is kind of where my whole family's from. I went to college for business for a year before I realized it was a scam and dropped out.
100%.
Yeah. And then I got a job at a boxing club, fitness franchise called Untitled Boxing Club. And I worked as a boxing trainer there. And things were going amazing. Things were going great. And then as I sort of progressed a little bit more, I started to run into some, I guess, troubles in adulthood. Not troubles necessarily. Basically, what had happened was I was a very ambitious young man, 19 years old, making $50,000 a year, something like that, which, when you're 19 and all your friends are partying and drinking in college, like it's a pretty,
you're a millionaire at that
right?
point.
I'm basically a millionaire because I'm driving a new car. I'm saving money. And, I looked good. And so then in 2018, my wife and I, girlfriend at the time, decided we wanted to move to Florida. Why? Why not? We were, in our early to mid 20s, and we had no responsibilities, no kids. And we just decided, screw it, let's go. And so we came down here. We had some friends that were living down here, and they were loving it. And so we came down here. But the problem was I didn't have a job lined up. I didn't have that much money saved. I had already maxed out one of my credit cards to buy my camera that I still use to this day. And so not the best planner in the world, but we made the move. And when I got down there, I did not get a job immediately. In fact, I've had a very hard time. I wasn't full-time employed really until 2 to 3 years later. So ran out of money, on the struggle bus financially. I was driving for Uber. I was also very dependent on weed. That was kind of my escape. And I would spend every single penny that I had made on, keeping my car payment 2 months behind instead of 3 months behind, because if it was 3 months behind, then it would get repossessed. So I always kept it 2 months behind. And then whatever remaining money I had, plus whatever I would borrow from my wife, to go buy weed from a stranger in Florida that I'd never met before, and then I'd spend the rest of my time playing Fortnite and eating food late at night and gaining a lot of weight over the course of the next few years, until 2020. And in 2020, I sort of observed the world and understood that the things about reality are not as they appear. We often get told that we should do what makes us happy, and happy is a very loose term. We get told that we should do what makes us feel good. We should do what is, we should strive towards pleasure. And I had been doing that for the previous 3 years, and it was not working out for me. I was the most miserable I'd ever been. I was on antidepressants. I was in therapy every single week, jumping from therapist to therapist because none of them had the answer. You go looking for a cure, and nobody could give me the cure. And then 2020 happened, and I noticed that because obviously 2020 was a crazy year, I noticed that a lot of the things that were plaguing society, i.e., short-term pleasures, doing what feels good, focusing a lot on your feelings, doing what's expedient, that to me was something that I was like, a lot of people are doing this and it doesn't seem to be working out. Like the news, the media, like they all prey on our feelings. They all prey on our fear, on, they just make us feel bad for a certain group of people. They make us feel afraid for what's going to happen to us. And in that year, I realized that we were all lied to about what we should be focusing on. We shouldn't be focusing on our feelings. We shouldn't be focusing on, what makes us quote unquote happy. We should be focusing on our responsibility as human beings and doing what is right, not just what feels good.
Sure.
And so basically, when I sort of had that realization that, we had all been, I guess, lied to about what we ought to prioritize as human beings, I tried. It was more like an experiment than anything else. I'm like, let me stop focusing on me. Let me stop focusing on what I want right now. And let me start focusing on what I want, in the future, how I can be the best, father one day, right? How I can be the best husband one day. How I can be the best contributor to society. And as a result, by not focusing so much on what I want now, and delaying gratification, all of the anxiety that I had, all of the feeling of self-importance, right? Because like, you know, when you have anxiety, you fear about what's going to happen to you. But when that's not your North Star, when satisfying yourself is not your North Star, you don't care as much, you know? So a lot of the feelings that I had throughout that time, you know, began to subside. And there's a lot of all the gratification that I was looking for in the short-term pleasures, the weed, the video games, the junk food, all that. It actually came through foregoing all of that and suffering for something greater than my own personal desires. And once I came to realize that, I wanted to share that with others. And I'm like, I'm not the person that invented this, right? If you open the Bible, it literally says all of that. And which is funny because we were just having this conversation on the way here. We were listening to a speech is not the right term, but it's a homily for those that know. So from my priest back home in Vermont, from a few years ago, and he was saying exactly what I'm saying. You know, like we all want what we want now. We want to do what feels good now, and that makes you a slave to your impulses. It makes you a slave to your appetites. It makes you a slave to, you know, whatever you want in the moment. If you are a slave to if you do whatever you want, you're going to become a slave to that desire. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, this is literally what I say on the internet now. And I was sitting in that very same church for 16 years listening to that guy say exactly that. And I'm like, where was I? Yeah. You know, like I'd been hearing this message. And I guess it just goes to show that like sometimes you just have to like experience it. You know, you just have to. That's why I'm so like, I always say that I wasted my early 20s, but in reality, like had I not gone through any of that, all that stuff that I had been hearing all those years would have never made sense to me, right? Because I didn't have that perspective. I needed to see the contrast of it. I needed to see, you know, I needed to experience what it was like. Because when you're younger, you know, you hear, don't do what you want, you know, delay gratification. You shouldn't be chasing women. You shouldn't be eating whatever you want. You shouldn't be, you know, all the things that I had previously mentioned. You don't want to hear that, right? And
it's the last thing you want.
It's the last thing you want to hear. So when you hear that as, you know, a young man, you're like, okay, yeah. You're like, what do you know? What do you know, old man? You just don't want me to have fun. Yeah. You just don't want me to be free. You want me to live by your rules. Yeah. When in reality, all the freedom that you're actually looking for is by putting those constraints on yourself. Because if you don't put the constraints on yourself, life is going to put those constraints on you. Oh, yeah. If you eat whatever you want, sure, you're free in the moment, but you're not going to be free when you can't move around when you're 50, right? When you can't chase your kids anymore. Yep. You know, when you have to buy 2 airplane seats because you can't fit in one. Mm-hmm. That's not freedom. Yeah. That's not freedom at all. Yeah. So you have to constrain yourself by not eating whatever you want, by exercising when you don't feel like it. And then you gain the freedom of being able to move when you're 50, of chasing your kids around until you're chasing your grandkids around. Yeah. Like that's actual freedom. Yeah. And I didn't understand that until I chained myself to my own desires to realize, oh wait, this isn't actually what you're supposed to do. Even though society wants to tell you it is, even though all your friends want to tell you it is, it's not.
Yeah. I love that. I mean, it's like one of my favorite books of all time is Stephen Pressfield's The War of Art. I don't know if you've read it or not.
I haven't.
So not The Art of War, that's a different book. The War of Art, but the entire book is resistance is required. And the thing that to get to where you want to be, like it's always through the pattern or the path of the thing you don't want. And it's not just, oh, it's going to suck. It's like, it is the only way. Like one of my favorite things that I've ever taken from Frisella is that when, like he calls it the bitch voice or whatever it may be, but it's when you have the thing that you know you should do, but then as soon as you go, I don't want to, it's not just like I should, it's the cue to execute. Yeah. Recently back home, I just recently changed gyms I was going to. I was just working out. I was just like because it was super close and convenient. It was just like a little like Anytime Fitness. It wasn't the greatest. It was just like 90 seconds from my house, but I hated going there. I didn't enjoy it, like all the things. But I showed up anyway, that kind of thing. But I'm like, you know what? I feel like I want to go to just where people are a higher caliber, level of people that are just getting after it, and just the environment alone is more conducive. I walked in and I went, I'm as soft as puppy shit. Everyone in there was geared down to their gourd. An Olympian owns the place. It's like, it was like, honest to God, I walked in there and I go, I'm a weak bitch. I'm like, wow, I want to keep this hoodie on. Holy shit. Like, I'm talking about dudes that were just like, everyone in there was either prepping for a show or was a power lifter or like just doing, 8 plates on each side, the hack squat for sets of 15, like those kind of guys. And I was instantly uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. And I gave my credit card and said, hey, sign up for a year.
Yeah.
Because for me, it's a trigger that I have, is like when I am feeling that, is I have to take the action in the direction.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I felt this when I first went to Summer Smash, because at the time, like I was not in great shape. I'm still not in a peak physical condition, right? Like, but I was definitely in worse shape the first Summer Smash that I went to. And I go there and I'm like, fuck, everybody's like rock hard muscle. Everyone's walking around, giant smile on their face. Hey man, how's it going? All this confidence. And I'm like, ooh, I feel like a loser here.
Yeah.
And I'm like that doesn't feel good, but it is good.
Yeah.
Right. It might not feel good in the moment, but that's when you realize like, okay, I have to be around this. Mm-hmm. Like even though it makes me uncomfortable, like I understand that being around these people is how you become one of these people. And so, a lot of people, they want to be the smartest person in the room. They want to be the most jacked person in the room. They want to be the richest person in the room. But like, that's the worst position to be in. You want to be, you might not want to be the poorest person in the room. Right. You might not want to be the dumbest person in the room, but you definitely don't want to be at the top. You don't want to be the big fish in the small pond. I'd much rather be the small fish in the big pond, because there's the opportunity for growth there is absolutely massive. And, you should always strive to level up your circle, find people that are ahead of you, even if it's just one step ahead of you. Yeah. If they have bigger shoulders and you have bigger biceps, you guys should hang out because you guys can help
Yeah.
Like always look for people that are ahead of you, because it feels comfortable and it makes you feel good to be in the circle where you're like kind of the leader, but that's not going to help you in the long run.
Sure.
Because you are the ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't get greater than, where you're at, and you don't actually know what's possible because, you're not, if you're hanging around with people that make $100,000 a year, the possibility of making $1 billion is not real unless you're around billionaires.
Right.
Then you're like, oh, like this is, I'm not that much I'm not that much dumber than these people. These people aren't like super geniuses. They just figured out something that I haven't figured out yet. But you won't know that until you're in that position. And so you have to get in that position, but it's going to require you to feel super insecure, super uncomfortable. You're going to feel, and I'm talking about billionaires and people that make 6 figures. This could be anything, obviously.
100%.
But it's absolutely required. All that insecurity, like that's good. Keep feeling insecure.
Right. For you, when you really started to change your situation, when you're like, wow, this rock bottom fucking sucks.
Yeah.
I think it's time to change. One thing that I see in the world of like transformation and like with our community and stuff like that is, too many people. It's one of my biggest pet peeves is they're waiting for the day the motivation fairy comes in. They're just like, like we're close to Disney. You're just like, whoop, boom, and you're magically motivated. Were you motivated at all? Like whenever you were in the suck, like obviously you're like, wow, this sucks. But I think most people are waiting for the day that motivation just comes and blesses them when that's not, I don't believe that's how it works. So, but I'd be curious of your perspective.
I mean, I agree. It's not, it's a feeling, it's just like saying, I'm going to wait until I feel joy to smile. It's like, okay, well, cool. You can do that, but you're going to smile a whole lot less. And like, just because you're sitting around waiting to feel joy in order to smile doesn't mean you are physically incapable of smiling. Like if smiling is just a movement of your facial muscles, it requires a decision to do it, right? You don't need to be you don't need to be super duper happy in order to smile. You just have to like choose to move your face in that way. And making progress, transforming your body, mind, whatever, like that's all the same thing. If you sit around and wait for motivation to take action, cool, but you're only going to take action, every so often.
Yeah.
The people that really succeed, the people that, seem so far ahead of you in life, all the people that you look at and you're like, oh, they must have something that I don't. It's not true. The thing that they have is not some supreme amount of motivation that just hasn't arrived to you yet. What they have is the ability to make decisions regardless of if they're motivated or not, regardless of if they feel good or not, regardless of if they're having a bad day or a good day. And that's really all it boils down to. Like the reason that they are running circles around you is because you are only executing on the days where you feel like executing, and they are executing every day. And so like, how do you expect to compete with them? You can't compete with them. If you only go outside for a walk on days where it's sunny, who's going to walk more miles? The guy that walks every day or the guy that only walks when it's sunny outside, right? So like, if you're trying to get somewhere, you have to do it every single day, regardless of how you feel, even if it's just a little bit, like people vastly underestimate the amount that just a little bit every day over the course of a long period of time does. Right. What they try to do is they try to build Rome in a day. They try to scale Mount Everest before Saturday. That's what they try to do. And what ends up happening is it's the turtle in the hare, right? The hare, starts out on Monday. He's super motivated. He sees a David Goggins video where he's lifting a log over his head, asking himself who's going to carry the boats. And then he pushes way too hard on Monday. He is in 1,000 calorie deficit. He does 12 hours on the stair climber, and then he does the same thing again Tuesday, and then Wednesday rolls around and then he's like, ugh. Yeah. And then he misses something on Wednesday. Maybe he cheats on his diet on Wednesday. Maybe he doesn't do the stair climber on Wednesday. And he's like, you know what? I wasn't perfect, so I'm just going to start again on Monday. And that's the cycle, right? Yeah. But in reality, if you span that out over the course of the year, you are making progress 2 days out of 7 every single week, 52 weeks a year. So you're making progress 104 days out of that math? Yeah, 104 days out of the entire year. Like, you're getting crushed by people that are doing less than you in that day where you're making progress. But the difference is they're doing it every single day. A lot of people ask me like, how did you gain so many followers over the last year? And
I was literally about to bring this up, like this analogy up. Continue.
Yeah. So the answer is I post every single day, regardless of what day it is. I will say there are a few days where I didn't post. Our wedding day, and and when my grandparents died, so I couldn't post that day.
Oh my gosh, those 2 days. Oh my goodness.
I was a little busy.
What a bitch.
But that's the difference, right?
Yeah.
I post every single day. And it's not just that I post every single day. It's not that posting every single day is going to magically get you all the followers. But what it actually is I'm doing reps every single day and I'm learning from every single rep that I do. So if you view every single video that you make, right? Let's just use this example, right? If you view every single video that you make as a lesson that you learn how to make the next video better, because ultimately in social media land, good content wins. Doesn't matter what it is. Good content performs well. If your content is good, that means people will like it. That means people will share it. That means people will engage with it, period. Doesn't matter what it is. If it doesn't work, it's not good. So with that being said, you have to learn how to make good content. You can't just post 365 days a year bad content and expect it to work. Not going to work that way. You have to view every single video as an individual lesson. Figure out, what did I do wrong in this video? Even if it was just like I had the mic over here when it could have been over there, right? Like just those tiny little differences. If those stack up over time, you know, if you go on my Instagram page and you scroll all the way back, you can see it incrementally change. You can just view it. Like I started in front of an American flag, like talking this close to the microphone, and like it changes over time. Like you might not notice it one video to the next, but if you go from beginning to now, it's way different.
Yeah.
And that's because while I was posting consistently, I was searching for things that I could do better. And by doing so, I learned the skill of making good content, and therefore the content works, and therefore you get followers, and you end up on Jared's podcast.
Well, but also I think it's cool. Is one of the things that I really like that you did in one of your videos. You've been also doing this a hot minute. Like I know we're talking about like transformation, but like it still applies where you have videos from like when you were like little. And you've been doing this for a fucking minute.
14 years.
Right. But exactly. No one's looking at like they see, you know, not Matt Graham now. And they're like, I'm curious where the not comes from. But
just Matt Graham was taken.
Oh, okay. Well, that's how real Jared Hamilton came is someone uses at Jared Hamilton and doesn't use their account. So I'm like, well, he's the fake one.
I asked at Matt Graham if I could buy the handle, and he hasn't replied to me yet. So at Matt Graham, if you're watching this,
that's right.
please respond to my Instagram.
That's right.
I will name your price. I'll buy Matt Graham.
That's hilarious. But like I had a lady one time along these lines, like because you've been not only been consistent, but you've been consistent for a really long time, and it makes it harder not to be successful. I don't know anyone who has put the reps and the effort and the time in and didn't get what they wanted. Like I don't know anyone that's been consistent for like the last like 10 years of anything, losing weight, growing a social media, building a business, iron working, I don't care, and didn't get the thing that they wanted. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, even if you fall flat on your face for like 6 months straight, like eventually you're going to be because if you're truly committed to the process and you show up every single day, eventually you're going to invest so much time in that process that if you don't get the result you want, you're going to get so frustrated that you're going to be like, how do I do this? I've invested so much time. This is what happened with my content. I was 13 years into this and I'm like, why isn't it working? And I'm like, oh, I'm not providing any value to people.
Well, that's the magic though. You said it's something I'm doing that's wrong. You weren't being a victim and said algorithm hates me. Oh, it's not meant for me. But in this realm, like when people aren't getting their results that they want in whatever area is, they pull out the victim card and they're like, oh, well, my mom taught us this. Well, this is how I grew up or whatever. And those may be valid, but just because it's not your fault, we'll say that it's now your responsibility though.
Yeah.
You know, so the fact that's I think where it changes though. You took ownership and said something I'm doing is
not
wrong.
Immediately though. For years and years and years. Now I did. But for years and years and years, I was hell bent on living in 2009 in the way that I made videos. I wanted to make the videos that I wanted to make. And then I really had to have a moment with myself and say, okay, I want to have this impact on people. I want to share this message. If I make videos the way that I'm making videos, the way that I want to make videos, nobody's watching it. The message isn't getting out there. And so I have to, if you want to win the game, you have to play the game by the rules. Yep. And I never wanted to do short form. I was always a YouTube guy. I was always like a vlogger. I was always like, I got into like the short film kind of thing. Like, I never wanted to do short form. I didn't like short form. I still don't like short form as a concept because I'm much more of like an artist than I am a social media guy.
I can see that.
And I've always been that way. Like if you can go further back on my YouTube channel, which is where all the embarrassing videos are, if you want to go look, they're all along those lines. They're all much more like artistic, color grading, music, like I treated them like short films, but they're bad content. They're not engaging. They're not going to keep your attention. They're not meant for the algorithm, but they're what I wanted to make. And ultimately that's not getting my message out there at all. Nobody's watching that. And so you have to really sit there and think, okay, what is the goal here? Okay. The goal is for the message to get out there. Well, then I got to play the game, and the game is short form.
Yeah.
And so let's win that game.
Yeah.
And And if the game goes to something else, then that's where I'll go.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not because I want to gain followers or whatever.
Sure.
It's because if the message is going to get out there, you gotta do what's working. You have to go where the attention is. And the attention's on short form. So I got to do short form. So I did short form.
Yeah. So for you, what is, like, obviously every piece of content is different, but for you, what is the overall message you're trying to get out there? I mean, obviously it's levels of self-improvement and things like that. Otherwise, like, we wouldn't be here right now. Yeah. But for you, because I feel like, I mean, just your content alone, I feel like everything is a banger of like, oh, was just stoic as fuck. Cool. That was stoic as fuck. Or and it's tactical. So for you, what is the overall message you're trying to get to everybody?
That you're not going to get any of the results you want by thinking about them, wanting them, wishing for them, any of those things. You have to actually do stuff. And I'm not one of those hardcore grind 24/7, right, 365, that's not me. I am just do what you need to do. Yeah. That's it. Just do what you need to do. You can reverse engineer every single goal you have. I want to lose 100 pounds. Okay, well, you have to lose a fraction of a pound today.
Yeah.
That's it. Lose a fraction of a pound a day. Once you do that, who fucking cares what you do? I don't care. I don't care what you do after. You can sit around and play video games, but you did what you need to do. Yep. You check that box. Then wake up tomorrow and do it again. And do it again. And do it again. And do it again. That's it. That's the game. Period. End of story.
I think a lot of people, especially like that we see here in like weight loss and all this stuff, where it's like when people wave their all or nothing flag. They're like, no, I've got to be on all the time, versus like, bro, you got like one or two habits. You like go work out and you eat right and go, like you saying, you literally go fuck off. Like, it's not, and then but it's the duration that gets everyone.
Yeah.
It's, because when they know they can't be consistent for more than 14 days, then it's like, oh, well, maybe I should be crazy and be extreme and all or nothing. But it never works.
No, you have to shift your perspective from I'm going to do, whether it's regardless of if it's making money, making content, losing weight, whatever your thing is, stop saying I'm going to do it until X result. It's not the way it works. It's not going to last, because as soon as you get the result, you're going to go back to the habits that got you in the position where you wanted to change. Period. You have to change your identity. You have to change your priorities. You have to say, I'm going to participate in fitness for the rest of my life. Period. Right? I'm going to, instead of saying I'm going to stop spending money until I have X amount of dollars in my bank account, you have to say, I'm going to stop buying shit I don't need.
Yeah.
Right? Period. I'm removing that from my habits. It's not who I am anymore. I don't need this stuff. I'm going to stop being materialistic. Right? You have to change who you are as a person in order to change the reality around you. I had to stop, because I don't know if you participate in weed culture. However, it very much becomes a part of your identity.
Sure.
Like, weed guys are weed guys.
Yeah. I don't smoke.
But if you met them,
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, 100%.
Like, they either got weed socks on,
or
they're talking about, right. They're talking about what strain they got. They're like, oh, do you do carts, or do you smoke a bowl? Are you a bong guy? Like, it's like a hobby, like anything else, it becomes part of your personality. And as one of those weed guys at a previous point in my life, I literally had to remove that from my personality. You have to change who you are if you want to change who you are.
Yeah.
It's just like a lot of people do this, and people will get this if they're into the losing weight thing. You have like the funny fat guy, you know what I mean? Like the guy who's like, I'm fat, let's party, haha, let's poke fun at the fact that I'm fat. It's like, okay, like that's the character you play, right. But like, you're also destroying yourself.
100%.
And so, you can't live your life with that identity and expect to not be the fat guy. You have to remove that from your personality. You can't identify as the funny fat guy anymore.
Right.
If you're tired of being fat.
Yeah.
Right. Stop making it. Stop poking fun at it. Stop making that part of your personality. And what I find a lot of the time is people people don't realize how much these habits are a part of who they are. You know, like the bar life, the partying life. They're like, I'm the partier. I go to the bar with my friends. I don't, whatever. Like, these habits are more ingrained in your personality than you think. And I think that a lot of the reason why people don't change them is because they ask themselves if it's going, they don't ask themselves this necessarily, but they feel as though it's going to affect their social life.
100%.
Are people going to not like me anymore because I'm not the funny fat guy anymore? Are people not going to like me anymore because I don't want to drink on the weekends anymore? Are people not going to like me anymore because I don't want to smoke weed with my friends anymore? Are those friends that I had previously not going to like me? And, if that's the case, then they're not your friends.
Yeah.
If the only reason your friends hang out with you is because of the habits you participate in, then you're not your friends. They are not your friends. And so you have to rip the Band-Aid off. If you are trying to change the reality you have around you, then you have to change your personality. Literally.
Sounds like some Joe Dispenza right there.
I don't know who that is.
Are you really? You literally like that? Like he's one of my favorite people to study from. He's a neuroscientist that talks about this deeper levels of permanent habit change and stuff like that. And he says, in order to change your personal reality, you have to change your personality. It's one of his little cliche sayings he uses. But that's why when you said it, I was like, it's literally a Joe Dispenza quote. Like,
oh, okay.
He's like one of the most prolific speakers around, on speaking on this stuff. Like,
I'm coming for you, Joe.
That's right. Come here, motherfucker. He's amazing. His material is unbelievable.
I'll check him out.
Like with neuroscience and brain scans and identity work and all this stuff, it's amazing. That's literally what he says though. Like, in order to change your personal reality, you need to change your personality.
Yeah, it's real. Like, if the way that fitness becomes part of people's personality, like if you want to be in shape, that's going to be at least a fraction of your new personality.
Yeah. 100%.
You have to view it that way. You have to view it as, you are the amalgamation of the things that you spend time doing. And if you can't hang on to the identity of all your old habits and then not spend time doing those habits, it doesn't make any sense. Like it's like me saying, I love to snowboard. I'm a snowboarder. Oh, when do you go snowboarding? Oh, I've never gone snowboarding.
Right.
Never gone snowboarding.
Yeah.
So, you if you want to have the identity of a fit person, you gotta fucking go to the gym. If you and it works conversely. If you don't want to have the results of a fat person, don't do fat shit.
It's interesting. I actually have written down in the little bit of notes that I have is, right before we were talking, just one thing I like to do with my guests is I'll do like one more last scroll through like your page to see what, like, if anything just jumps out that I just feel like talking about. And I was curious, like, what posts like that, what content of yours resonates most with your audience. So like if you flip to like the Reels page when it shows the views, I'm like going, and then like let's see what one like those like quadruple the views. And one of them was when you said, I summarized, but it was when you said, if you don't want to be average, stop doing average shit. What you do has to be conducive with what you want.
Yeah.
And it's so simple, but so profound, and no one does it. You know what I mean?
Seriously.
Along these same lines.
No, exactly. Like, literally what you put in is what you get out. People simultaneously want to fit in with their friends, but don't want the results their friends have. What? What? I want to do all the same stuff that they do. I don't want to stand out, but I want to stand out.
Yeah.
I want different results than they do. I don't like the job that they have. I don't like the income that they have. I don't like the friends. I don't like the relationships that they have. I don't like the body that they have, but I'm going to keep doing all the same stuff that they do. Oh, okay. Cool. Have fun with that. Good luck. I hope it works out for you.
Yeah.
Like, what it really boils down to is like the fear of being alone, but I think people don't trust the fact that, yes, there's going to be some degree of loneliness. And I've certainly experienced that. We've experienced that. I'm pointing at my wife, where we don't fit in a ton with, a lot of the people around us. Sure. And like, that's okay. Because we understand that there are people that do get it. There are people that do the things we do, that do, think about the things we think about, that do care about the things we care about. And but it is concerning when you're kind of in that middle part where you're starting to feel yourself moving away from certain people, but you're not yet in a new place with people that do get it. You're like torn. You're sitting on the fence. You're like, do I go back or do I keep going? And you have to have some degree of faith to keep going, because you don't see the people that you could be with. You don't see the friend circle that you could have yet, because you're not there yet. You only see what was, and you see yourself distancing away from those people, and all you see is fog in the distance. And a lot of people stay in those old habits. They stay in that place they don't want to be in because they don't trust what's on the other side of that fog.
Right.
And so what I would say is trust what's on the other side of that fog, because every single time you leave a circle of friends, every time or even just a friend, right? There's another one that does exactly what you do. If you, whether it's, whatever your measuring stick is, whether it's income level or fitness level, or even just like, this guy's into jiu-jitsu and that guy's into kickboxing. I don't really want to do jiu-jitsu anymore. So I'm going to go, I'm going to start practicing kickboxing. Like, yeah, your jiu-jitsu friends are not going to be interested in kickboxing. Sorry, bro. Right. But you're going to find people that like kickboxing.
Yeah.
Fun fact, other people like kickboxing. It's not just you. You're not the only person on earth that wants to get in shape. You're not the only person on earth that wants to make a lot of money. You're not the only person on earth that wants to, live a successful life and chase personal excellence. Like, you're not the only person that wants to do that. There might be fewer people that want to do what you do, but it's not zero. It's never zero. And so you just got to find the people. And the best place to find those people are by going where those people are. And I always tell people, go, and I'm a total hypocrite about this, by the way, because I work out at home. But go to the gym.
But you're not struggling with this.
I'm not struggling with this.
That's the difference.
Right. Yeah. I got people, that get it. And that I actually met at the gym, by the way.
Okay.
So go to the gym. But seriously though, like, if you are somebody who is trying to, get into personal development or level up your friend group, go to the gym, period.
Yeah.
Because there's no person that you want to be around that isn't in shape, that isn't going to the gym. Every single person that you would want to be around that is a millionaire, that is successful, that is into martial arts or whatever the thing is, right? They're at the gym. They're lifting weights, right? Because to me, fitness, and this can transition to this topic. I can talk about this. Fitness to me is a prerequisite for being a human being. Okay. I don't know a single person that has the mindset that I want to be around that doesn't go to the gym. Don't know a single one. I don't know anybody that is disciplined, that has a backbone, that has the ability to think for themselves. I don't know any single person that fits that mold that also is completely out of shape. Don't know one.
It's interesting. One of the things that I've been saying a lot lately, like with the people who need like higher levels of these higher levels of personal development and personal excellence and all this stuff, they're not the ones that are going to be pursuing that. They're not reading the books. They're not like doing the habits, but every one of these motherfuckers wants to lose weight and feel better and look better naked and all the things. And I view it as fitness and weight loss and getting stronger and showing up for yourself is the gateway, like almost like the gateway drug to all of the things. Cause I think along the lines of what you just said, I think it's really hard to, if to do this fitness stuff and not level up every other area in your life. Your confidence, let's say your confidence gets better. Well, that approach is how you guys interact in your work and your friendships and your communication skills and your ability to be uncomfortable. That affects fucking everything. Yep. So like if you change one area of who you are, it automatically correlates and changes these other areas as well. So
yeah, I mean, regardless of what you're trying to do, fitness will make it better, period. Doesn't matter what it is, whether you're trying to be a better father. Tell me that being in shape isn't better than not being in shape.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You mean to tell me that rotting away in a recliner with a pack of Bud Light watching football is a better alternative than like being able to chase your kids around and actually play with them and keep up with them.
Sure.
Yeah, that's better. Cool.
Well, even let's say like health indicators and markers aside, from just a habit side, if someone wants to be successful in their career, if someone wants to have a badass marriage or wants to have these other things in their life, but they can't show up for 20 minutes when they don't want to, or they can't control the fork in their hand, or they can't control stopping when they're full, like how the fuck do you plan on these other areas, like getting promoted at work and competing with others and having a great relationship and having high level communication skills, if we can't do something as simple as one habit?
And it's the most primal thing, right? Like,
sure.
Food is how you stay alive, right? So if you can control that impulse, like you can control just about any other impulse. You know, if you like, this is why every religion, every single one, fasting is a part of the religion, because it is the most raw form of discipline. Literally not feeding your body, saying no to nourishment, saying no to food. There's nothing that is a more raw form of discipline than that, because your entire body is like, what the fuck are we doing, dude? You know? And yeah, like you said, if you can control that impulse, same with sexual impulse too, by the way. Those are your two like most powerful impulses, which is why
hunger and horny, one of both.
Exactly. I mean, seriously, look at a lot of the young men in the world, right?
Yeah.
They struggle with a lot of the same things, porn and overeating.
Yeah.
Right. And the media and everything, they prey on that, right? Sex sells, right? Everything is sexualized in culture, and then they force feed you with food that doesn't actually make you full, that doesn't actually nourish you, so that you can continue to want more, right? Like so much of your mental strength, mental toughness can be built by controlling those two things. And so, you know, we don't have to get into the other one, but like fitness, you know, like that to me, that's why I say it's a prerequisite for being a human being. Like if you want to be any degree of exceptional at anything, being able to be in shape is going to be the bare minimum. Like you're going, and you don't have to be a bodybuilder.
Right.
You don't have to be Arnold Schwarzenegger. You don't have to be Usain Bolt. You don't have to be LeBron James. You just have to like control yourself.
Yeah.
You just have to be able to, you have to have the ability to say no to yourself. Because if you have the ability to say no to yourself in fitness, you have the ability to say no to yourself when it comes to buying that thing at the store, when it comes to letting your kid have that thing, or throwing the iPad in your kid's face when he's crying. You know, like if you have the ability to say no when you really, 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 really want to say yes, that is a skill that translates everywhere. And like that is what separates so many people from the life they want to like their actual reality, is like just the ability to have an impulse and then be like, no. That's it. Like literally that moment right there of, I want to do this. And then being like, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah. Goes back to the resistance conversation.
Yeah. Like that is the difference. Like the more that the stronger that skill is, like the sky is the limit with that. Like you can literally achieve whatever you want, do whatever you want. Like, if you're a slave to your impulses, you're always going to be confined to whatever you want now.
Yeah.
So
I totally agree. I can't believe we've been going for almost an hour. So last question.
Sure.
For those listening right now who are like, okay, I've been fucking up for a long time now, but I don't even know where to get started. Like where do I even start with changing my situation? What would you say?
Well,
I know one of those annoying, super open-ended questions.
Yeah, no, I get asked it all the time. I would say start with fitness is something that I will, you know, preach until the day I die. Just be in shape. Like it's not that hard. It's not that hard. Walk 30 minutes a day. Go to the resistance train 3 times a week. I don't know what your protocol is, but this is like to me the bare minimum. resistance trains 2 to 3 times a week, walk for 30 minutes a day, go outside, drink water, and then, don't overconsume calories. That's literally how you just
It's the magic.
That's
there.
literally how you be relatively in shape.
Yeah.
And it's not hard. It takes an hour of your day, maybe.
If that. Yeah.
It's not hard. And then from there, I would audit all the things that you don't like about your life, and then seriously sit down and ask yourself, what can I actually do about these things? What can I actually do? Right? You may be mad about the fact that you're short. Sorry, dude. Right? Like there's nothing you can do about that.
5-inch inseam. I'm not playing.
Like there's nothing you can do at that point. But if you're mad about the fact that you're overweight, okay, cool. There's something you can do about that. And so I would do that with everything. If you're upset about your marriage, okay, what are you upset about? And what can you do about it that's going to make it better? And then if there's things that you can't do about it, well, you have to learn the skill of letting go of those things, of detaching yourself from those things, which is easier said than done, by the way. It is hard. It is very hard to learn how to do that. But just like saying no to yourself, it's something you build over time. Like now I'll get told something, and I'll be like, well, there's nothing I can do about that. So and that's literally it. That it doesn't go into my brain any more than that. It's like, okay, it's literally like a algorithm now. It's just like information enters my brain. Okay, good, bad. Okay, bad. Can I do something about the bad? No. All right, bye information.
Yeah.
Right, and that's it. If it comes in and it's like bad, can I do something about it? Yes. All right, let's do that thing. And that's it. That's it. If you want to fix your life, if you're in shambles and everything's falling apart, literally ask yourself, what can I do? What can I tangibly do? Right? And I don't mean like if you're broke, say, okay, I can make $100,000. It's okay. Theoretically you can, but let's break that down into actual actions. Okay. Let's make the phone call today, right? You can break every single problem that you have in your life. You can attach it to a solution that's going to make it better. And then you can take that solution that you want and break that down into action steps. Maybe they're big action steps, and then you break them down even further. What can I do today to move the needle forward? And then just do that stuff today. And if you want to fuck off after, fuck off after. Do what you can do today, and no more, no less. And then do it again tomorrow. And then just repeat that process until your problem's solved, because it will be. It will be. There's no, like you said, there's nobody that puts in the time and the effort and the reps that doesn't eventually figure it out. So you just have to do what you can do today and then do it again tomorrow. But don't worry about tomorrow today. Worry about doing the thing today, and then go enjoy yourself. Live life. Life's too short. Don't get too stressed out about it. Just do what you can do, then let go of it, and then wake up tomorrow, do what you can do, let go of it. Repeat that cycle, and you're gonna feel a lot better.
I love that. That's so good. So practical. So what are you working on right now? What are you excited about, like in the life of Matt?
Honestly, about to have a baby.
Really?
Yeah.
Congrats.
You didn't
That's
notice?
dope.
I guess she's wearing a jacket.
That's dope, man.
Yeah.
When's that one due?
February.
Nice.
February, yeah. So
That's exciting.
that's kind of the biggest thing that I got going on. I got some stuff going on behind the scenes that I don't know if I can talk about.
okay. Fair.
But yeah. I just making content, doing my thing, trying to help people, showing up on podcasts, and counting down the clock until she pops out a baby.
There we go. I love it. Where can people find you if they want to learn more?
Not Matt Graham on every single platform until @Matt Graham gets back to me.
Right. Oh, I love it. Good shit, man. Well, dude, I appreciate you making the haul, and thank you for coming. This has been great. So,
Absolutely. Appreciate you having me.
I love it, man. We'll talk soon.
Yes, sir.
And we are back. Thank you once again for tuning into today's episode of Dieting from the Inside Out. I know if you stuck around, you got a lot out of this episode. So be sure to apply the stuff that Matt was talking about, first and foremost. But second of all, definitely check out the resources below and follow him, reach out to him, shoot him a message and say, yo, I heard you on Jared's show. I loved it, all the things. That would mean a ton to me. I would love it if you guys just flooded him with like, oh my gosh, this was crazy. So it would mean a lot. Now I don't want to leave you hanging from here. I have a lot basically I have a lot of cool goodies and things for you in the description of wherever you're watching or listening to this at, because I have a lot depending on where you're at. If you're in the situation where you're newer here and you're not quite sure where to like even get started with this game of changing your life, I actually have a free course. You can go through it at the link in the description. If let's say you know what to do, but you're struggling because you don't have any support or community, or you're just not around like-minded people, so it's hard to get yourself going. I actually have a community of like-minded people just for this reason. So there's a link below to a Facebook group of mine. It's got almost 8,000 people in it at the time of recording this right now. And it is nothing but your home base. I built it so you can go there to get loved on, to get supported, to get the answers, to get to the problems that you're struggling with, and to have a home base, so to speak. So you can join that and join my community. And then if you're listening and you're like, man, I just don't even know where to get started, and I'm tired of having to think about this. If you have a lot riding on this, where like, if you don't get your shit together, you're like, it's going downhill, like it's getting worse and worse by the day, and you're struggling and the weight just keeps creeping on and your issues keep getting worse. Well, then that's what coaching is for. And if you want, you actually can have a direct line to apply for coaching at the link below. You can go right to my calendar. That way we can chat and see if this is even a good fit or not, and then go over things from there. But otherwise, I appreciate you the more than you can imagine. Be sure to subscribe to the show if you haven't already. I will talk to you next week.